shit, World Wide Web. I'm Shado. And let's just be happy I'm alive. Anyway, Pumpkinhead 3. Or Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes, as this movie doesn't have a number in its title. It does, however, not have much hope for quality. How do you manage to have such low expectations so easily? Simple. Ashes to Ashes is a made-for-TV movie. Wonderful. Theatrical release, to straight to DVD, now made for TV. If we keep this up, Pumpkinhead 4 will be a school play recorded on a Sony Handycam held by Michael J. Fox. Fortunately, we're not quite there yet, and as a special added bonus, this movie actually acknowledges the events of the first. Sort of. The town is unrecognizable, but there are several characters who return this time around, and Pumpkinhead isn't some sad kid soul who got randomly murdered. It's a demon of vengeance, out to kill those who have wronged its summoner. So it's kind of like a Pumpkinhead movie. Only it's ridiculously cheap. There's only a few high-profile characters, but most of the running time is actually spent focusing on random assholes that nobody cares about and are terribly written. But anyway, let's take a look at this bad fanfiction. Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes, and hope there's at least a few redeeming qualities. The movie opens to a forest. An incredibly shit-looking forest, because the best I could get this on is DVD, and joy oh joy it's presented in 388p. Something even worse is that a man is running away from Pumpkinhead! Or hobbling away slowly, because he's got to stick around for the plot. That, and this is all just a dream! It's the kid from the first movie, Bunt, except this time all grown up and played by Doug Roberts. So he's not dead, he's just a deadbeat, and he has to go haul some corpses out as per his boss's request. This introduces another character, a hiker, played by, someone. I can't find a name, nor any reliable source to pin down who the fuck this character is, so, the point is his dog runs off after Bunt, and he sees the man dragging a corpse through the swamp. Therefore he runs off for help. Right into the old Wallace crematorium, which coincidentally happens to be where Bunt came from.
What a fine specimen.
Which, strangely enough, doesn't spend any time whatsoever actually cremating bodies, but instead, Doc Frazier, played by Pinhead himself, Doug Bradley, chops the bodies up to sell the spare parts on the black market. Which is incredibly stupid because he's doing this well after they've died and the organs and skin are completely useless for transplants and worthless on the black market. But, it's the thought that counts. Screw the here and now, though. Bunt is interrupted during his corpse disposal by the long-forgotten past.
What you're doing is going to cause you pain. Sorrowful pain.
What? Is he using poison oak oils for lube? This is the Ghost of Edy Harley, played by Lance Henriksen. Yeah, they got him back for this. At least for a few lines, because he doesn't even stick around for the end of this conversation. No bother, back at the crematorium, the, guy, he runs into the operating room.
How in the hell did he get in here?
Front door was open. Door to this room was open. The how isn't really a question here. Who the fuck he is, though? That's a bit more so. Seeing a dead guy in a building specializing in the disposal of dead guys is somehow incriminating, and John Doe here runs for his life. Problem is the bad guys have his dog at the ready, and it seems Fido wants revenge for that time he pretended to throw the ball, but actually never did. The fuck do you think the goons were hunting him down for? Polite conversation? The joke's on Bunt as they actually intend to cut the motherfucker open and harvest some organs. Or an organ. Why take the whole lot when you can just take one, right?
A kidney! Whoa! Where'd you get that?
Wait, they took one kidney. Dude, he's got two of those! And a liver, and a heart, and lungs, and plenty of shit that you can get a lot of money for on a healthy 20 to 30-year-old man. I know you're used to harvesting corpses, but seriously. Hell, after he makes the deal with the drug/organ dealer, it turns out John Doe was in such good shape after a murder by organ harvest, he's actually still alive, rising from the swamp Bunt left him in, and able to run out onto the street to call for help.
Okay. You alright?
Well, he got stabbed by a pitchfork, cut open, his kidney stolen, left for dead in a swamp, all because his dog has a grudge. But, all things considered, I'd say he's doing pretty good. This is Molly Sue Allen, played by Tess Panzer. Not the best person for him to run to help towards, not only because somehow he dies anyway, but as it turns out, the word around town is she's out of her mind.
Man's been killed out in the woods by the Wallace crematorium.
Just settle down, Molly Sue. Is this another one of your episodes?
He's in my car.
Hey, well, just because there's a dead man in your car, that don't make you any less crazy. Actually, it probably means it more so. Finding there's a real live dead guy in her car is enough evidence to bother investigating this little incident, allowing a little mini-raid at the crematorium, resulting in the arrest of Bunt, his sister Dahlia, played by Lisa McAllister, and brother Junior, played by Ilian Glitta, while the good doctor was just getting back home.
Well now,
Get in the car.
this certainly complicates things.
You mean that us driving up here and sitting in front of the police is very incriminating? What? Oh, no, that little son of a bitch still owes me $5. Thus, the police ignore the doctor and his henchman, Tiny, played by Diku Ariel, and just lock the three young adults up while investigating the murder. At the crematorium and littered throughout the swamp are dead bodies. Why they stockpiled and dumped them to dispose of the dead instead of doing something much easier and less labor-intensive like, cremation, is beyond me, but Molly Sue is present to give the sheriff the good old-fashioned I-told-you-so stare. More importantly, nobody realizes that Dr. Fraser is in on this incredibly stupid crime, so he's tasked to help solve it, and actually gets thrown a curveball when the search party finds an old pumpkin patch and digs Ed Harley up as well. Well, with investigations this thorough, at least one of Molly's concerns can be put to rest.
There are no children here, Molly.
What kind of animals would do this?
The kind who have no problem doing this to small children as well. I know it's a tiny corpse, but it was just in the room on the other side with all the other dead bodies. It shouldn't have been that hard to locate. As it happens, Molly's reputation for being insane was caused by the death of her only son, who was desecrated just like the rest of this incredibly large pile of dead people in this small town. Her grieving is interrupted, though, when old Haggis makes an appearance, this time played by Lynn Verall.
This one belongs to me.
Who are you?
Yeah, as a TV actor, nothing really major, but still, Impa CDI here acts circles around most of the rest of the cast anyway. Wouldn't you know it, there happens to be legends about this old woman in the woods. It's a good thing they mentioned it, because it's kind of important now.
People say you got powers, that you can do things.
I can't bring back the dead.
Only remake familiar scenes from the first movie. Much less impressively.
Thus Haggis ignores her, but that doesn't stop Molly Sue.
Y'all have to come with me.
Where?
To see the old woman.
What for?
To advance the damn plot of the movie, okay? Just get your shoes on! After dumping the barbecue ashes in the urn on the ground to make her point that the crematorium wasn't burning their dead, but instead uncouthly dumping them at any old place, and with a doctor dismissing the scene saying that what they did probably wasn't even against the law, their only hope for justice lies with Haggis. That's good enough to get 3 people to tag along, so there are more witnesses to classic scenes getting butchered.
Powerful price for what you're looking for.
The 4 of you must guess what that price is. Closest one wins. But if you go over, you go straight to hell!
Molly Sue's entourage includes Ellie Johnson, played by Ioana Gigina. God damn these fucking names. Her brother, Ronnie, played by Katalin Parshiv. Jeez. And finally, Richie, played by Radu Iokoban. Okay, fuck it, I give up. It's like the movie's just trying to fuck with me at this point. By inadvertently casting a spell trying to pronounce all that shit, the corpse reanimates into Lance Henriksen. Lance! The aliens wasn't real. The Queen's not gonna rip you in half. Honestly, the transformation scene is one of the highlights of the movie for me. It's pretty much yet another scene from the first remade, but it looks decent, which is an oasis in this desert. The revived Pumpkinhead wastes no time getting right back to work, as the gang of miscreants he was summoned to exact vengeance upon are still stuck in a cell, making tracking them down much easier than it could have been. Gee, I wonder why these cops never noticed anything was amiss in this town. They're so good at their jobs. Obviously, going for a gun doesn't help anyway, because it's fucking Pumpkinhead, and he kills the officer. Naturally, this results in gorgasms for his summoners, only this time it's a bit different. different. Instead of experiencing Pumpkinhead's feeling of killing people, they experience the pain of the people being killed. Yet don't experience the death part of being killed. I understand that would make for an incredibly short movie, but still, it's a bit weird of a change. At least I think it's a change. The first movie didn't really go into too much detail as to exactly what Ed was experiencing, but honestly, it didn't look nearly as painful as this. You know, the deaths or the movie. The miscellaneous gusher provides enough of a distraction for Bunt and his sister to flee the police station and get in the first car they find. Now to get the thing started.
Let's go! The boat's in the car now! Here we go!
A fucking Old West key ring? What year is it? For fuck's sake, why don't you just shovel coal into the furnace? Even more unbelievably, the key is actually on the fucking thing, and they manage to escape Pumpkinhead, who is much more disappointed that he doesn't understand machines anymore. This gives the two more than enough time to run back to Dr. Fraser's secluded rural mansion and start screaming about how Junior just got juiced.
Now calm down and tell me what happened.
Pumpkinhead, it's real!
I knew it!
Wouldn't Bunt have already known that Pumpkinhead was real? And asking what else is new is less redundant than what the fuck he just said. The doctor is less than convinced that the two siblings, one dumb as a rock, the other fucking meth head, have the firmest grasp on reality. In the meantime, he tells Tiny to go hide the police car, while the other two go upstairs to calm down. While they're busy, Molly Sue teleports down for help with her sudden, unexplainable feeling of death, but seeing as they have no fucking clue what this is, they just leave, only resulting in having Tiny have to climb up the side of the building to keep them from spotting him. Fortunately, they were blind enough to not even notice the 8-foot-tall hulking monster motherfucker. The bad news is now there's an 8-foot-tall hulking monster motherfucker. Fortunately, he's already half escaped the wrath of Pumpkinhead. Unfortunately, though, neither Tiny nor any other character seems to understand how to defeat the curse of the locked window. Sure, Pumpkinhead could just go right through the window and kill fucking all of them right now, but we've already established in the previous movies that the monster really doesn't like giving the film too short of a running time, even for a TV movie. Point is, Pumpkinhead impales Tiny on the pinnacle of the building, which of course everyone associated with the summoning feels, because that's how it works now. While the monster is distracted with killing one guy, though, Doc Fraser and the gang escaping the monster's only weakness, a goddamn car.
There has got to be an explanation.
We're marked.
Yes, you are, Von Wallace. You reap what you sow.
Okay, so is Ed Harley haunting the kid, or what? I mean, because here it looks like he's possessing Doc Fraser, but he's not actually doing that, so... I mean, is Bunt just crazy? Yes. Yes, he is. Oh dear, we must swerve. We don't want to risk running into that ghost. So their easy escape of going cross-country to avoid Pumpkinhead is completely fucked, and Dahlia is unconscious. No bother, Doc Fraser has some obligations anyway, having to go to the church tonight to pay respects to the townspeople who have been so horribly treated by the crematorium owners. So he sticks them in the basement of the church. Before we get much further with this, though, Bunt has to vomit a bunch of exposition and clips of a better movie all over the screen.
I don't know what happened at that witch's place, but it must have been something bad, because it just started killing those kids.
Not sure what he doesn't know about what happened, considering he explained that the kid died, and he showed Ed Harley the way to the witch, and the witch summoned Pumpkinhead, and Pumpkinhead went around and started killing everybody. And what part of that did he not know? At the exact incantation? Who gives a fuck?
Well, something stopped it.
Well, Ed Harley stopped it.
How?
You gotta ask him yourself.
Well, no, I can't do that, can I?
Well, sure you can. He's standing right behind you.
And I have to admit, as absolute shit as this movie has been, there are a couple of spots that are honestly entertaining. I mean, it helps that Lance and Doug actually know how to act. Turns out he doesn't have to ask the ghost anyway, because Bunt just tells him, because Ed summoned it, it was stopped when Ed died. Enough plot, though. It's time to sit down in the church. Gotta keep up appearances, after all.
In Genesis, we know that God saw that the wickedness of man was great, but that there was room for repentance and acceptance.
Dear God, it's true. Somehow it is possible to overact a preacher.
Ashes to ashes, dust.
even have to say anything. The title drop is interrupted by some of the worst visual effects in the modern age. It's so bad, the priest thinks this just might work. Yeah, imitation holy water, that's just great. Hell, you'd probably do a little more damage if you just used plain-ass water from fucking Flint. One backhand of death later, and the priest finally gets a chance to hang out with Christ. Problem is, this of course means he dies, which means the four summoners start freaking out again, and it leaves one so vulnerable that the collapsing church ends up taking him out, stunning Pumpkinhead. So Ronnie's dead. But most everyone else escapes just fine.
Oh my god, that smoke! Move, Bud!
Smoke rises, you're in the basement. Yeah, it's a good idea to get out, but I'm thinking that the screaming, slamming, and the gunshots probably would have been an earlier hint they should fucking move. They get out just fine anyway, and the whole rest of the town is already left, so that's that.
It's done. Dollface. It's over.
Oh, no, it ain't.
Effectively having four summoners means that all four have to die before Pumpkinhead is finished here. It's like a scalable spell or some shit, I don't know. As the group is now without a car, somehow they're perfectly able to walk briskly away from Pumpkinhead, returning to their house like fucking idiots. This does give Fraser a chance to hear Molly Sue's brother, Oliver, played by Emmanuel Parvu, stop by and tell him about how she and a few friends went out to the old witch's place and did something kinda bad, and he's worried about her health. Which is all the good doctor needs to hear in order to figure out who else needs to die to stop Pumpkinhead. Which it seems is what the rest of the characters want as well, except for Molly Sue, of course.
She wants to see this thing run its course. Doesn't matter who dies, even if she dies.
Ask the old woman, she'll know. If we go back,
You can't go back.
Why the fuck not?
You have a head injury. You need to rest.
Well, it's not like he has to fucking drive down there, and honestly, with a concussion, he still had the best ideas of what the hell to do about this out of all of you. Bunt also wants to fix this problem, but seeing as neither the doctor nor his sister are listening to his concerns, he just goes off on his own. One at a time, though, so Ellie and Oliver go down to Haggis's place to reenact a few more scenes.
You thought you could just call his name and that would be all?
The fine print's not on the spell, you didn't explain it to them, and it's acting differently than it did in the previous movies, so it's kinda hard to pin the fault on them for ignorance.
What if we right the wrong? What if we make things the way they were supposed to be?
It must run its course. You live and die by it now.
I don't want vengeance anymore.
Ain't your choice.
Right then, no other way out of this, thanks for the confirmation. Not hearing what they wanted to hear, they ignore what she said and move on. This means the only one making any progress on their plan is Doc Fraser, who oh so fortunately has Richie all alone in the trailer. I mean, Pumpkinhead does show up and complicate shit a little, but murdering the fuck out of the guy does the trick, and Pumpkinhead is stunned long enough for the doctor to get out of there. It takes so long for Oliver and Ellie to get back, not only is Doug Bradley long gone, but so is Pumpkinhead.
He's dead.
This is Doc's.
But just because he had more than enough time to get away, that's no reason not to leave clues as subtle as a predator chiropractor in his wake. Seriously, these guys are dumb enough that the shit still doesn't click.
How can Doc have anything to do with this?
Oh, acting weird, a mysterious cut on his head in the church, and the fact that Pumpkinhead was summoned to kill whoever wronged, without getting into too many specifics, yeah, it could be it.
Who else in this town would know how to do that to a person?
Or I guess he could default to even plot-wise, the town's full of fucking idiots. Such as Molly Sue, who ignores Oliver's monotonous talk about how you can fix this problem and save their souls, despite the witch saying that that's not possible. Also, they yell at each other like they're former lovers, though in other scenes it sounds like they're brother and sister, I don't know, they might be both. But fuck it, the point is that she runs off on her own to leave town, heading to the local motel. The one where the organ salesman happens to be staying in, so she yells at him over the loud music, allowing him to tell Doc about that pissed-off blonde next door when he shows up. That's gonna have to wait, though, because Bunt catches up with Oliver and Ellie at the crematorium for the whole righting the wrong shit they want to try.
Maybe I could help you.
You think you can help me get this thing going?
We could try.
The idea is, even though Doc chopped them up and sold their organs on the black market, despite the fact that they didn't even have the organ donor check on their ID, that's not actually the wrong here. The wrong is that they weren't cremated, and they weren't cremated because the oven's busted. And evidently, dragging a bunch of dead people out into the middle of the swamp to try and hide the bodies is easier than fixing the fucking pilot light. In next to no time, though, they get the crematorium back up and running again and begin the task of burning the massive backlog of corpses. At 2 hours a corpse, that should take them a few weeks to a few months, but that's nothing a montage can't fix. The problem is at the same time, Doc Frazier ends up in a standoff with Molly Sue. Yes, she has every reason in the world to shoot him and no reason not to, but she puts the foots around with it long enough for Pumpkinhead to show up next door and start killing the fuck out of people. Considering the first movie they established that the summoner's pain is felt by Pumpkinhead, then wouldn't Pumpkinhead choking someone, and thus hurting the summoner, then hurt Pumpkinhead? Now, I'm trying to make some sense out of this. With Molly disarmed, Frazier grabs the gun and begins shooting Pumpkinhead. I thought he was supposed to be the smart one. Well, he does use a sixth shot on Molly, killing her and knocking Pumpkinhead down, which the high-as-fuck Dahlia finds very entertaining. Movie, could you at least be consistent as to how long killing a summoner stuns Pumpkinhead for? Molly was the one most into vengeance here, yet somehow she has like the weakest link with the motherfucker. With Doc thrown a convenient distance from the scene, Pumpkinhead finishes off Dahlia, and then the whole fucking place explodes! No problem. Doc Frazier's still alive, and in just one night the small group has cremated almost all the bodies. Problem is, the last summoner is there, Doc somehow knows, and he plans to stop Pumpkinhead.
I told you I could stop this.
But first, let's go into slow motion and take a moment to reflect. Giant monster behind me, whole room full of people that want to stop me. No way in fuck this is going to work. As Bunt runs out in front of the gun, taking the bullet for Ellie, while Pumpkinhead fucking kills the shit out of Frazier. Problem is that whole let's right the wrong to stop the monster thing? It didn't fucking work, big surprise. So instead, Ellie sacrifices herself in a very slow and painful way to end the nightmare once more. Thus, ending. The monster's defeated, leaving Oliver and Bunt alive, but the Bumpkin's laughter lands them in a prison cell anyway, and Haggis returns to claim the husk of Pumpkinhead once more, planting the seed of a future horror movie. Which was Ellie's corpse! Which means the crematorium doesn't work nearly as well as it should. Also, why the fuck was it Ellie? Fucking Molly Sue was all high up on the vengeance the whole goddamn time. This hardly seems fair. And anyway, that was Pumpkinhead. Ashes to Ashes, and fuck was it hard to sit through. Was it bad? Oh yeah, but it's more why it was bad that makes the movie annoying as hell. It's actually kind of impressive just how many ways the filmmakers fucked things up here. First of all, the overall plot, while harkening back to the first, was incredibly stupid. A doctor desecrating the dead is an interesting angle to work with, but not only would it not be nearly as lucrative as it's made out to be here, but that's not what everyone wanted vengeance for anyway. The call for revenge came from them not cremating the bodies, but dumping them in the swamp. This was just fucking moronic because there was no logical reason why they couldn't cremate the damn bodies. The crematorium was not working, but they fixed it in maybe an hour, and that's a much better way to dispose the desiccated corpses and destroy the evidence of what the fuck they were doing. Then again, pretty much every character was moronic. Take Bunt, for example. In the first movie, he was a country boy, so not what you would consider book smart, but he was cunning and opportunistic. Here, he's about as smart as a sea slug. Then again, Bunt from the first movie was smarter than most of the characters this time around, so I guess they'd have to dumb him down to keep the curve where it's supposed to be. The big killer was the acting. Overacting, underacting, monotone droning, and insane rambling was all here, but the only people who seemed to know how to deliver lines to elicit some kind of emotion out of the audience were Doug and Lance. They're clearly the highlight of the movie, but that's not saying much considering the movie is a train wreck. Overall, while there are enjoyable bits here and there, and a couple of good performances, the overall movie is so bereft of quality, it brings the whole experience way down, coming in at 1 removed kidney from an incredibly incompetent murder out of 5. And of course, it's not the worst movie I've seen, Alien Origin, but still not something that I really enjoyed sitting through, like at all. But thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, when the most lively performance of your movie is the dead guy, that's a problem.
Doc?